What up, homies? Conversations are not what they used to be. Think about it. Have you ever tried to talk to a stranger? I'm sure you know how painful it is when they ignore you or say something rude to you because they want no part of your friendly banter. Now you might be thinking I'm a crazy person who just talks to everybody. I'm not, but I'm actually quite introverted. But I've had lots of experience in my life. I've done sales. I was a missionary. I studied social work, worked in counseling, offices. I've just done a lot of socializing, and I definitely have noticed that things are definitely declining. And, feel free to put me on in the background with my sweet, sweet jazz voice. I don't know if I have that, because I'm just talking over this COD gameplay because I play COD and I don't like editing. But I just have a couple tips to share that I use when I'm, meeting new people, because at the end of the day, modern conversation shouldn't be humiliating. It should just be something you learn from. So tip number 1. It takes two to tango. And obviously the saying is what it means, right? You need two people to dance. And that same goes for a conversation. And I know you may be thinking that's common sense, but when you get rejected, you forget that aspect. You can't tango unless there's two of you. You can't have a civil or nice conversation unless you and another person are actively talking to each other. At the end of the day, no one is forced to talk to you. You can't physically force somebody, at least not legally, force somebody to take part in your conversation. And the same goes for anybody to you. You shouldn't have to take part in a conversation or take part in anything in life that you don't want to. That's the beauty and the blessing of free speech and just free will in general. And I know that things like that can get kind of twisted because of modern media, but the principle is still the same. You can't do a dance that requires a partner without a partner. So tip 2 is that not everyone is not going to take the bait. Now, I grew up in Florida, so as a kid, and I'm sure you may have experienced this as well, but if you've ever gone fishing, but I fished a lot. And one of the first things you learn when you fish is that fishing is kind of boring, because you got to be patient, right? And in general, when you're fishing, you put the bait on your hook, right? Cast it out, and you just wait. And if you like to fish with a bobber, you're literally going to wait until you see that bobber, goes under the surface of the water. No matter what you do when you're meeting somebody or just talking to someone in general, if you're asking questions to get to know somebody and they're not really pulling the bait enough to pull that bobber underwater, then that's their choice. And I know this kind of seems similar to tip 2, but when I mean taking the bait is you can still conversate. You can still do small talk. Everything is surface level, right? Specifically, put in perspective with the bobber, everything is on the surface of the water. You're not getting deep with that. And that's totally okay, because not every conversation has to be deep, and you don't have to know everybody's, why they do this, why they do that. That's so unnecessary. But that doesn't mean that you don't want it, right? You may not want to catch a fish, or you may not want to catch a bass, but you catch a bluegill, and a bluegill is cool, but it's not a bass. You wanted a bass. And, this person was cool, but they weren't interesting or cared enough to conversate with you. And just the last simple tip is tip number 3 is when you are planning to go to a destination, you got to drive your car. And when you're having a conversation and you're initiating it, or you're just in the conversation, the goal is, at least sometimes, is to kind of drive the car, steer the conversation where you want to go. And again, that's way easier said than done, especially if you are a new driver, right? You just got your license. You still got 2 hands on the wheel. You're still kind of hesitant when you're leading or trying to lead a conversation to where you want to go. And the reason why you would lead a conversation is because you want to avoid any awkwardness, right? If you are trying to get somebody to tell you about their family, then you're going to obviously ask questions to learn more about their family. And if they are not willing to tell you about their family, things might get awkward, because that's all you've been, leading towards. So you just need to be able to adjust, right? I live in a place that snows, and when there's ice on the road, you're kind of just driving, and all of a sudden your wheels start spinning and you start sliding, and you got to really adjust, but not overcorrect, or else you'll crash. But you got to adjust a little bit so you stay on the road. And the same thing goes with the conversation. If you hit a dead end in the conversation when you had a certain goal in mind, then you just got to turn a little bit. And if the conversation just stops, it'll be awkward, but guess what? Who gives a shit? It's just a conversation. And that's, I guess, an extra tip number 4. Who gives a shit if you get rejected? Who cares if somebody doesn't want to talk to you? Because at the end of the day, it should not matter what other people are thinking of you. And obviously, if it's your job to talk to people, that's a little different. But when you're using your free will to talk to somebody and get to know them, it might get awkward. People are definitely not going to want to talk to you. They're not going to give you much info, even if that's what you want. And you just got to learn how to roll with it and not let it affect your mood. And we don't want to lose the ability to get to know people. And so we just got to keep trying. But have a good night.